Greetings, brave traveler, and as always, I hope you're having a fan-frickin-tastic day. Today, we're going to take a look at the fight Alar in Tempest Keep. We'll be going over all the things that I do as an Elemental Shaman, and ways to make myself better, and also maybe our group better, and in that process, I hope that it helps you in some way, shape, or form. That's the goal. That's what we're doing here. All that being said, there's not a lot to say about this fight, other than it can be a little hectic if you're melee, but we're not. And as range, it's eh. So, without further ado, let's get right into it.
Energy. Power. My people are addicted to it. A dependence made manifest after the Sunwell was destroyed. Welcome to the future. Do not get too comfortable. My demise accomplishes nothing! The Master will have you! You will drown in your own blood! The world shall burn! Ah!
Okay, so we've just done a ready check. We're kind of waiting for when the boss is pulled to come down. On opener, we can basically go full blast right away. As range, we don't have to worry about threat because the boss doesn't come down to the ground floor until much later. However, when this phase ends, you do not want to be above the tank in threat, because if you are, it'll turn to you and kill you. Anyways, we pop our lusts, we pop our drums, we do our opener, we're standing on the floor. So as range, again, we really have nothing to worry about at the moment. It's basically just spam your DPS rotation, which as you can see, we do very well. That's kind of our thing. We like that. So, I'll go over real quick the reason why we chose to go to Alar next. Notice first that the platform changed. We got really lucky. It didn't go very far. So all we have to do is take a couple steps. We don't even have to replace our totems. That's the best. So, back to what I was saying. We chose to do Alar next. Even though we did Morgrim last and Lady Vashj is the next boss, our guild recently downed Lady Vashj. We've cleared her now twice. So I now have the footage that I need to make the PoV for Lady Vashj. However, I'm going to knock out the rest of the TK fights short of Kael'thas, and then I will post up the Lady Vashj fight to potentially help out some shamans in need. Again, we got lucky with the platform swap. We didn't have to move very far, and our totems get to stay stationary. And she didn't do quills, or he, or whatever Alar is, I guess. Non-binary bird. That's what we're going with today. That's what we're choosing. So this fight, I might speed up a little bit from here because it's quite boring. I don't have a lot to add other than press your buttons well, and that's it. Your tank just needs to get into position to tank the boss so that it doesn't flame buffet your entire raid to death. And that's it. It's a pretty easy first phase, unless quills happen and then melee have to panic and jump off the platform before quills happens. Otherwise, they die. And we don't want them to die. We like our melee friends. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up for a little bit. You'll notice here quills happens. And when quills happens again, melee has to drop all the way down. And then they kind of don't know where to go because Alar could show themselves on either side of the platforms, but in this case it went right back to the original spot. Notice we continued to DPS all the way through the duration of quills because we can. Again, we'll speed it up a little bit and get through this portion. Okay, phase transition is happening now. Notice my threat just before this was low enough. I don't have to worry about tanking the boss right away. We're good. But if you are range, again, make sure that your threat is below the tank when the transition happens. If it's not, the boss will immediately turn and run at you. And you don't want that evil on your hands. Alright, flame patch. We dodged the flame patches. We might take a tick or two. That's just how it is. You just don't want to die to it. The combination of flame patch plus the AoE burst from the meteor is what's actually terrifying. You pop a Hellstone, things like that. You'll see it potentially up very shortly that I might react with a lesser heal or something along those lines to save myself. So something that we don't do and that a lot of guilds can do, or I think should do, is instead of taking the meteor to the outside edge here, also notice Ogle is glitching out. Ogle is our raid leader. So we carried on without him this attempt. Anyways, what you can do is position yourself in the center so that range can still DPS the boss and drop the meteor in the center and then move out from there. I highly recommend it in order to get more damage up on the boss. It's not necessary, but it is a good way to cheese a little bit more DPS while you're waiting for the meteor to fall. Also in the interim, you may get asked to kill birds, things like that, so that would be a time where I would say don't drop it in the center. Instead, drop it on the outside edge and then focus on getting down an ad if needed, because the tank can then bring it over to an edge, or bring the ads over to the edge rather, so then they don't get knocked back super far. So see, we're stacking up in near the center this time, but it's still not within range of being able to DPS Alar. So to fill the time, I just sat here doing this. Also notice our meteor just went and killed a pet, which is great for us because that just means that we didn't have to deal with the damage from the meteor and also didn't have to really adjust all that much, other than the fact that the tanks kind of just stayed here instead of moving towards it, which meant that we obviously, I guess, had to move. Biggest things with shamans, elemental shamans in this fight, is trying not to lose globals on totems. So it's really important that, like, when the meteor is coming down, for example, that you place your totems towards the direction that your raid leader says that they want to go. So then that way you don't have to replace them for your party as the fight progresses as much. You only have to recall them when they're in the air, when Alar's in the air. So we're called to stack back up again. Again, we could have easily done this in the center. I don't know why we don't. It's damage missed on the boss, and so in order to get like decent damage, some of us will fluff, and fluffing is actually potentially bad if not done in the right times. Anyways, I rest my case. We should be taking the meteor in the center so that we can hit Alar. That is all. The rest of this is kind of dodge flame patches, live your best life. If you get an overlap where it's meteor into flame circle patch thingy, just make sure you're popping a health stone and trying to survive, because you take a lot of damage very quickly and healers cannot do that while also maintaining the tank's health because they are getting crushed. That's it. We pop our cooldowns, we do big stuff for the rest of this. A poorly timed cooldown is kind of our biggest flaw here. We could have waited for the air phase, but again, you never really know how that's going to look. Real quick, our next POV video will be on Void Reaver, aka Loot Reaver, in Tempest Keep. I'm going to be looking to get out Loot Reaver and Solarian as quickly as possible so that I can get to Lady Vash, because I know that there's a lot of people in the community still struggling with her, and I'm concerned about Blizzard nerfing her before a lot of people get the victory lap of killing her pre-nerf. So I'm hoping that by talking about her in my video that maybe I could help somebody down the boss that couldn't down it before, and if I can, that would mean that they get to feel the victory feeling of killing her pre-nerf, which is awesome. Also, I wanted to say that I don't necessarily think they need to nerf it. I think raiding is semi-prestigious in Classic. I think that maybe not all players need access to it, and if you want access to it, I think it's important that you do what it takes to find a guild or a group that you can do it with. And if that means that you're on a dying server, lucky for you, there are server transfers coming. I think that that is the appropriate way to address it. And if you disagree with me, feel free to disagree with me in the comment section down below. So this is by no means our best attempt of this fight. Our top DPS on this fight is higher than this for sure. If you want to take a look at my logs, they're always in the description below of each of my POV videos. I currently have a 93 percentile average, and it's only because Lady Vash kills my parse average, because so many external RNG factors, which we'll talk about once we get to Lady Vash. So that's it for the Alar fight in Tempest Keep. We'll see you soon. Welcome back. That was the Alar fight in Tempest Keep, or the Eye, through the lens of an Elemental Shaman, aka me. I hope that what you saw was helpful or entertaining in some way, and if it was, go right ahead and give that like button a little belly rub, because it's been such a good boy. And if this series is helpful to you and you want to see more like it, or you can't wait for Wrath of the Lich King because we're going to do a bunch of content for that, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And until next time, farewell.